Tonight at 10, Nigel Farage refuses to apologise for racist comments made by a canvasser for Reform UK about the Prime Minister. In a TV interview tonight, he condemned undercover filming of the comments, which he said were being exploited by his critics.
This is a total and utter set-up that has been leapt on, of course, by our political opponents.
I know I'm not a young man. State the obvious.
Joe Biden attempts to come out fighting after a weak and stumbling performance in a TV debate against Donald Trump.
And I'm at the Glastonbury Festival, where headliner Dua Lipa is about to take to the stage.
And on BBC London, with the election less than a week away, we look at the issue of river pollution and how voters want the next government to address it.
Good evening. Nigel Farage has faced repeated questions from a BBC audience about the racist language used by a canvasser for Reform UK about Rishi Sunak. Mr Farage refused to apologise, saying it was a set-up and a deliberate attempt to smear his party. Mr Sunak, who is of Indian origin, said the language made him hurt and angry and that Nigel Farage had questions to answer. The racist comments were secretly filmed and then broadcast by Channel 4 while activists were campaigning for Reform UK in Clacton, where Mr Farage is standing. Our political correspondent Joe Pike is in Westminster for us now. Joe.
Reeta, Nigel Farage's surprise entry into this election revitalised, re-energised Reform and seemed to give them a poll boost as well. But as we saw from the Question Time Leaders special tonight that he appeared on, that drip of constant allegations concerning first candidates and now campaigners does seem to be having an impact. Not just on Mr Farage's own team, I've detected a certain nervousness there, but also, as we saw this evening, he seemed to be disowning some of his own candidates live on air. And a warning, my report contains offensive language.
I'd like you to please to welcome the leader of Reform UK, Nigel Farage.
He's attempting a fight back as his party is hit with yet more accusations of racism.
What is it about you and your party that attracts racists and extremists, whether you say you want them or not?
I've done more to drive the far right out of British politics than anybody else alive. I took on the BNP just over a decade ago. I said to their voters, if this is a protest vote, but you don't support their racist agenda, don't vote for them, vote for me. And we destroyed them.
Asked live on air about Reform candidates who've made offensive comments, Mr Farage seemed to dismiss those standing.
I inherited a start-up party. Remember, I've been doing this...
Why are they still standing as your candidates?
Well, they're not. They've been disowned. In most cases, they've been disowned.
But now it's not just candidates, but campaigners that have been causing problems. One seeing a pride flag on a police car implied gay people were paedophiles.
You see that degenerate flag on the front bonnet? What the old Bill doing promoting that crap? He's about catching nonsense, not promoting the
Another suggested the army should shoot illegal immigrants.
with guns on the beach, target practice, just show them.
And he used a racist slur to describe Rishi Sunak.
He got in. What's good is he? You tell me, you know, he's just wet.
Andrew Parker said he'd not told Nigel Farage about his views and apologised if he'd brought Reform into disrepute.
When my two daughters have to see and hear Reform people who campaign for Nigel Farage calling me an effing it hurts and it makes me angry, and I think he has some questions to answer. And I don't repeat those words lightly. You know, I do so deliberately because this is too important not to call out clearly for what it is.
Earlier today, we caught up with the Reform leader. Hi, Nigel. How are you doing? And he seemed keen to focus on one of the campaigners who he claims was acting.
From the moment he arrived in the office at Clacton last Saturday and he bowled up and spoke to me, he was rough speaking.
You think he was faking it?
He was acting from the moment he came into the office. I 100% believe this whole thing is a total setup.
Andrew Parker has told us tonight he doesn't want to comment. He has done some acting in the past, but today we found no evidence he was acting in the covert recording. Channel 4 News have said, "We strongly stand by our rigorous and duly impartial journalism, which speaks for itself." We met Mr Parker for the first time at Reform UK party headquarters, where he was a Reform Party canvasser. We did not pay the Reform UK canvasser or anyone else in this report. Mr Parker was not known to Channel 4 News and was filmed covertly via the undercover operation. Nigel Farage has been trying to get here for decades, but he and his team know the distractions of the past couple of days have the potential to damage their campaign at precisely the moment when many floating voters are finally making up their minds.
And that's the future that I foresee.
I'm afraid I have to cut you off there, Nigel, forgive me.
He has survived many similar storms before. Will Nigel Farage weather this one, or will it do damage to his party next week? Joe Pike, BBC News.
And you can see a full list of the candidates standing in the Clacton constituency on your screen now. President Biden has attempted to get back on the front foot after a stumbling performance in his first televised presidential debate with Donald Trump. Directly addressing concerns about his age, Mr. Biden told a campaign rally he'd been knocked down but would get back up. But there's still alarm in Democrat circles at his rambling during the debate. Here's our North America editor, Sarah Smith.
President of the United States, Joe Biden.
Is this old man up to the job? America wanted to know. As soon as he opened his mouth, the doubts began to grow.
With the COVID, with dealing with everything we have to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare.
He was hard to hear and sounded confused. This is him talking about immigration.
The total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look.
One of Joe Biden's strongest issues should be abortion, but he couldn't even score on that, rambling on instead about a different topic.
Look, there's so many young women who have been, including a young woman who just was murdered, and he went to the funeral.
Why, after a week of intense preparation, did he not have a great answer ready on what's a winning issue for Democrats? Immediately afterwards, the senior Democrats who were sent out to talk to the press did not have any convincing excuses for that disastrous performance.
Yes, the president may have had a minor cold. Yes, maybe the president's voice was a little scratchy. Who cares?
Is that the best President Biden can do? Is that what voters can expect of another 4 years of President Biden?
Voters see President Biden every single day. I mean, let's not forget, it's not like voters are seeing President Biden just for the debate. They see him.
That's why he had to try and reassure them with a vigorous performance
They see him at press conferences, they see him at events, they see him at campaign events, they see him at rallies.
Donald Trump's performance was riddled with dozens of lies.
The problem they have is they're radical because they will take the life of a child in the 8th month, the 9th month, and even after birth. We have the greatest economy in the history of our country. We have never done so well. Everybody was amazed by it. Other countries were copying us. We now have the largest deficit in the history of our country under this guy.
None of that is true. And Joe Biden did land some punches, one on Donald Trump's behavior towards women.
How many billions of dollars do you owe in civil penalties for molesting a woman in public, for doing a whole range of things, of having sex with a porn star on the night while your wife was pregnant? I mean, what are you talking about? You have the morals of an alley cat.
Give you a minute, sir.
I didn't have sex with a porn star, number one. Number two,
President Biden described visiting a World War I cemetery in France that Donald Trump refused to enter.
He was standing with his 4-star general, and he told me, he said, I don't want to go in there because they're a bunch of losers and suckers. My son was not a loser, was not a sucker. You're the sucker. You're the loser.
President Trump?
First of all, that was a made-up quote, suckers and losers. They made it up.
Senator. Inside this huge press scrum are two Democratic rising stars. And we all want to know if either of them might now step in and take over as their party's candidate.
No, our nominee is Joe Biden. Looking forward to voting for him in November. He's going to be our nominee.
Democrats are clinging to the hope that before the election, this disaster could fade from voters' memories.
With debates much closer to the general election, Ronald Reagan, having lost his first debate overwhelmingly, went on to win. Barack Obama, having lost his first debate overwhelmingly, went on to win. This is not particularly unusual.
A far more energised Joe Biden appeared at a campaign rally today.
I don't walk as easy as I used to. I don't speak as smoothly as I used to. I don't debate as well as I used to. But I know what I do know. I know how to tell the truth.
He is clearly determined to continue, doing what he can to try to move on from this debate debacle.
And we can speak to Sarah in Atlanta for us now. Sarah, can Joe Biden be replaced as the Democrats' candidate if they wanted to do so?
Well, don't forget, he's not actually the Democratic Party's official presidential nominee yet. That won't happen until the Democratic Convention in Chicago in about 6 weeks' time. But it wouldn't be easy. Democrats are circulating among themselves, some of them anyway, the party rule book on how to try and contest his nomination. But in reality, it would be extremely difficult unless he decides to step aside. And so when you saw that performance at that rally in Raleigh in North Carolina, what he'll be hoping is that rather more energised and vigorous version of himself might at least calm some of the fears within the Democratic Party. I don't think that's going to change a lot of voters' minds. 48 million people tuned in to watch that disastrous debate last night. I mean, probably only a few 100,000 have seen his performance in North Carolina so far, although clips will be on the TV news and shared on social media. No, what he needs to do right now is talk to his own party and tell them to stop panicking and not start a lengthy debate about whether or not to replace him, because if he's going to try and work to win back voters' confidence and persuade them that he really is ready for another 4 years, that's going to be so much harder to do if his entire party is talking about whether or not to get rid of him.
Sarah, thank you very much. Sarah Smith there. The jury in the trial of the security guard accused of hatching a plan to kidnap, rape and murder the television presenter Holly Willoughby has been shown a video of the moment that he was arrested.
What's going on?
Gavin Plum has given evidence for the first time and said his online messages about the alleged plot were massively regrettable and he was never going to carry out the abduction. He denies all the charges. Princess Anne has left hospital after treatment for a minor head injury and concussion following an incident at her estate in Gloucestershire on Sunday evening. She was injured by a horse at Gatcombe Park, but the precise details of what happened aren't clear. She's returned home to recuperate, but is not expected to return to public duties until the doctors say it's safe to do so. A former Fujitsu engineer has denied hiding problems with the faulty Horizon IT system when he appeared as an expert witness for the Post Office during prosecutions of sub-postmasters. Gareth Jenkins was giving evidence for a fourth day at the public inquiry, as Emma Simpson reports.
Do you remember going into the witness box in Guildford Crown Court on the 14th of October of 2010?
Yes, I do.
Seema Misra was in the dock. She sits beside me now. Do you recognise her?
Yes, I do.
14 years on, he's the one under pressure now.
Isn't the truth that you knew that Horizon was a monster and that it was causing harm?
No, that was not how I felt.
You hid it, didn't you?
No, I did not.
He knew about bugs, but he didn't think they were relevant in her case, and he still stands by the Horizon system. The inquiry then saw this email. Mr. Jenkins has material for his performance review the following year. He mentions the Misra case, saying the defendant was found guilty of theft and Horizon was given a clean bill of health.
You knew that your role was to help get that clean bill of health, wasn't it?
My role was to tell the truth.
The woman was sent to jail, Mr. Jenkins. Never mind that.
I'm sorry for what happened to Mrs. Misra. I clearly got trapped into doing things that I shouldn't have done, but that was not intentional on my behalf, my part.
Thank you, sir. Those are my questions.
Thank you very much, Ms. Page.
Gareth Jenkins blames the Post Office for what happened to Seema Misra, but he leaves this inquiry still under investigation for perjury and perverting the course of justice. Emma Simpson, BBC News at the Post Office inquiry.
The Liberal Democrat leader, Sir Ed Davey, has defended his role in the Conservative-led coalition government and its approach to austerity. He was a cabinet minister under David Cameron when his party's manifesto pledge to scrap student tuition fees was abandoned. In the latest in a series of BBC Panorama interviews with party leaders, he said it was important to be part of the team making decisions for the country.
I am not proud of every decision I had to take, but my point is, if you wanted to change things, you had to roll up your sleeves and not quit. And we stood there and we sat there and we argued our case. And I'm really proud of things we achieved. We wouldn't have quadrupled renewable power if the Liberal Democrats hadn't been there. We wouldn't have made Britain the world leader in offshore wind. We wouldn't have legislated on mental health. We wouldn't have legislated on same-sex marriage.
And Adrian Ramsey, the co-leader of the Green Party, appeared on the BBC's Question Time Leaders Special tonight, where he was asked about the day-to-day cost of the party's plans to combat climate change in, for example, transport.
I think most people want to do the greener option, but the greener option's got to be the cheaper and more convenient option as well.
So how would you make it cheaper?
Well, at the moment, there are huge subsidies that go into the aviation industry, whilst we have some of the most expensive rail prices in Europe. And so one of the things we would do is to bring the railways back into public ownership, which I think people would really like to see.
Well, while the political parties deliver their official messages to voters, social media is providing its own running commentary on the election. Some young people around the UK have racked up millions of views for content that they've posted, becoming big political influencers online. Often that's unintentional. Posts can spread like wildfire, driven by social media algorithms. But sometimes their content is simply opinion or untrue. Marianne Spring is here with more. Marianne.
Yes, Rita. I've been looking at how people are getting pushed political content online during this campaign using our undercover voters. These are 24 fictional but representative characters with private online profiles in 8 battleground constituencies, including these. I've found that on the social media feeds of my undercover voter characters under 35, that 90% of the political posts are not official party content, but come from users who've unexpectedly gone viral. These accidental social media influencers are racking up millions of views. They're getting as much traction as the party official communications. I spoke to dozens of these new social stars, like 15-year-old Tolu. She's not old enough to vote, but was shocked when her TikTok about politicians' rhetoric on immigration blew up overnight. Several others tell me that followers said their posts changed their mind about voting, and some have found themselves targets for threats and abuse. I chatted to 16-year-old Will, who shares posts like this of politicians talking about issues like supporting Brexit. He even made a political logo for his account. Giving young people a platform can encourage them to voice their opinions. But some other unofficial profiles have shared misleading claims like this one, a picture falsely suggesting Keir Starmer wore a pro-Palestinian T-shirt to watch England in the Euros. Others shared untrue conspiracy theories about Nigel Farage. This is happening because content is now recommended to your feeds on TikTok, X and Instagram, often from people you don't follow, meaning content can go viral instantly. All the social media companies have told the BBC they protect users and ensure they are seeing reliable content about the election. They've taken action off my investigations as well. Thank you, Rita.
Mariana, thank you. And Newsnight are in Glasgow to hear voters' stories about the cost of living crisis, migration and independence. That's on BBC Two, the news channel and iPlayer at 10:30. Now, Glastonbury has kicked off with plenty of top acts at Worthy Farm. One of this year's headliners, Dua Lipa, is on stage right now and Katie Razzle is there. Katie.
Hello, yes I am. Welcome to the Pyramid stage where Dua Lipa is 4 songs in. She told the BBC performing here is the biggest moment of her career and she's certainly delivering. We've had hits already, we've had lasers, we've had some great choreography and this is just the start. 210,000 people are at this festival and it feels like a fair few of them, perhaps most of them, are right here, right now, dancing and shouting in this field. Her set is the culmination of a glorious day here at this festival. Here's a flavour of what's been happening. Glastonbury, a place where something out of this world is often just around the corner. Where, for a few days in June, A working farm transforms into one non-stop party. A festival for adventures with its own pier and synchronised swimmers. And where revellers get to forget the world's woes.
There's so many amazing acts that you don't even realise exist.
The possibilities are endless.
Is there anybody you're particularly looking forward to seeing?
Shania Twain.
Shania.
Dun, da, 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 da. Let's go, girl.
On the main stages, the first full day of music, Mercury and Brit-nominated Olivia Dean was on the Pyramid stage as it built towards Dua Lipa. Across on the other stage, rapper Heady One showcased drill music for the crowds.
I feel like Glastonbury is like, it's iconic, so like to be a part of it is just a great feeling.
And bringing drill music to a main stage.
I feel like my music, like I said before, is very real, so to bring that kind of genre to the stage and also to spread it out into other genres, and I feel like it's just a good display of like creativity and music in general, and that's what my aim is to do when I'm making music.
There are always firsts at this festival, and this year they've opened Scissors, the first lesbian area. Described as a femme-queer wonderland.
Glastonbury is like so queer in its nature. I think it's all about kind of expression and colour and being yourself and kind of, yeah, being who you want to be.
Glastonbury's also had 17, the first K-pop band on its bill. The party here at Worthy Farm is only just beginning. Katie Razzle, BBC News, Somerset.
Time for a look at the weekend weather now. Here's Sarah. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Rita. Well, it should stay mostly dry, I think, at Glastonbury, so no need for the wellies, hopefully, this year. And actually a fairly fine, settled weekend in store for most of us. We ended the day with some clear skies. This was the picture in Norfolk a little bit earlier on as the sun went down. We should keep some sunshine, especially, I think, on Saturday, but also a little bit of rain in the forecast. Certainly we won't all be seeing it, but we've got quite a slow-moving area of low pressure that's moving its way in. So that is going to bring more cloud across parts of Wales, northern England, down towards the southwest of England, and also a little bit of cloud and rain into southern counties of Northern Ireland as well. So where you've got the cloud around, probably temperatures just about staying in double figures. But for many of us, actually, it's going to be quite a fresh start to Saturday morning. We're looking at single figures for many. Now, through the course of the day, then, we're going to be seeing that cloud just lingering across parts of northern England, Wales, the southwest too, and that's all down to this weather front that you can see here. It'll bring a few spots of rain, particularly over the higher ground of Wales, northern England. To the north of that, the clouds should clear fairly quickly from Northern Ireland, so some sunshine developing here. Through central and southern Scotland, some sunshine too, but there will be a few showers across the north of Scotland, not as many as we've seen today. Down towards the southeast of England and East Anglia, hazy sunshine, and that's going to lift temperatures to 24, possibly 25 degrees. But for most of us, those temperatures are a little below par for the time of year, around 12 to 19. Now into Saturday night, we've got this area of cloud, this slow-moving but weak weather front, just drifting a bit further south, so just a small chance of a shower perhaps at Glastonbury overnight into Sunday morning. For most of us, again, clear, dry and quite fresh to start your Sunday morning. Now through the day on Sunday, again, a lot of dry weather in store. This area of cloud brings one or two showers for southern England. That should clear away fairly quickly. And then there's more cloud generally filtering its way in from the north. A few showers, perhaps parts of northern England into the Midlands as well. But it's cooler than it has been, around 12 to 21 degrees. And it's a bit up and down over the next week or so. Sunny spells, a few showers, mainly in the north and the west too. Rita.
Thank you, Sarah. And that is tonight's BBC News at 10. Now on BBC One, it's time to join our colleagues for the news where you are. Good night.